Alright, we're back in the truck. I haven't posted here in a while, so I wanted to do one, and quite frankly, chopping this up into 3 minutes or less for TikTok and Clapper, too much. It's too jumpy, and they don't play in the right order all the time. Anyway, in the last several days, we have heard a lot about the proposed mis- and disinformation board. The woman proposed to head it spread lies about the Russia investigation and about the Hunter Biden laptop. The only reason they like her is she spread the lies they wanted spread. She said Russia was true and the laptop was not, when we know the inverse is true in both cases. What's worrying about this, and this would be worrying to me no matter who proposed it, on two fronts. One, they didn't propose any of this until Elon Musk bought Twitter and promised to actually allow free speech. There are videos now going around where we have media talking heads worried that you can just ban entire political parties, and you could ban candidates, and you could turn down the reach of some and up the reach of others. Exactly what was done in 2020. They're worried about it because when you live in an echo chamber and you never hear anything that confronts or challenges your own opinion, your opinion is elevated to the role of absolute truth, which is not good. For those of you who have read 1984, you'll know what the misinformation board is. It is the Ministry of Truth. And in 1984, the Ministry of Truth was responsible for propaganda, revision of history, and unpersoning. You literally see members of that Ministry of Truth changing newspaper articles to remove someone's name and photo and replace it with someone else that is elevated to the role of hero or villain, as the government needs. I have maintained for many years that the swamps of the world, pardon me, want an Orwellian state. They want to be able to just dictate what you think, what you say, what you believe, what you do, where you live, where you work, what you're allowed to eat. There is a movie version with John Hurt, and it's actually really good, but it was made in 1984 before Hollywood was a thing. In that movie, you see him ask others if they've managed to get any razor blades, because apparently either he just wants to regularly shave, or as you see, no men with beards in the workforce. They're required to, but they can't get razor blades. And of course, Oceania, which is the former Great Britain, blames the rest of the world for the shortage. Sound familiar? At present, even though only 2% of our imports came from Russia, every hardship at the pump is blamed on Russia. Biden choosing to no longer import that 2% of our total from Russia is the only thing responsible for the pain at the pump. Apparently, the war in Ukraine has also meant we can't get food, even though we have seen, I don't even know how many food processing plants burned to the ground or otherwise mysteriously destroyed. Farmers are still being paid to leave their land fallow, unplanted, unused. Bill Gates is buying up as many acres of farmland as he can and doing nothing with it. So as the government ignores food processing plants being destroyed, as they pay farmers not to produce, as they ignore Bill Gates buying land up that he can just leave fallow or possibly develop into apartments or something else that is not part of the agricultural industry, they still blame all of our food shortages on Ukraine, Russia. This is exactly what the Ministry of Truth did in Orwell's novel. You can bet anyone in the government at any role, at any level, if they want steak, chicken, pork, they get it. And they don't pay for it. They don't go shopping. They just have it delivered. Pelosi famously now, or infamously now, sat in front of her $10,000 plus refrigerator filled to the brim with ice cream that even if I had the money, I would not buy that overpriced crap. A literal let them eat cake moment from the woman who demands that she be given power so she can solve the problems. She acts like Marie Antoinette. We have a crisis in this country, and it's on several fronts. A crisis of conscience, a crisis of education, and a crisis of spiritual faith. The very people screaming that if we just believe in them and trust them and let them do their job, meaning only vote Democrat so they have a mass majority in Congress, that all of our problems will go away. Meanwhile, those same people demonize Christians on a plane for a song. Ilhan Omar famously tweeted, "I wonder what would happen if I led a prayer session on the next flight." I replied to her, most people probably wouldn't say a thing, because most people are not Ilhan Omar, who demands that she be allowed to express and embrace and exercise her faith no matter where she is, no matter when it is, no matter what's going on. But on the next breath will demand that you not exercise or embrace or show your faith in any way. We have a man in the White House who does not know who or where he is most of the time. He cannot string together a coherent sentence most of the time. The woman acting as vice president treats adults in the media and adults in other places as if they were third graders, speaking to them as you would a third grade class to explain a topic, cackling like a witch in Shakespearean plays. So often it's expected. Even as they demonize Donald Trump, who, while very blunt and very hard-spoken, would tell you what was going on. They rant and rail about how the economy is doing horribly as they raise taxes and print as much money as they want, leading to inflation. And then they lie about it. Printing money does not cause inflation. Yes, it does. Look at Venezuela, where they were literally using paper money for fire because it was useless. A roll of toilet paper cost the equivalent of like $1,000 or $2,000. If you print enough money to make everyone in the country a billionaire, then money has no value. Nixon took us off the gold and silver standard to pay for the Vietnam War. And our money has not been valuable like it was since. A $20 bill used to be worth 20 ounces of silver. A quarter worth a quarter ounce of silver used to be actual silver. But when Nixon was in office, he took us off that. The gold sitting in our repositories, it has value as metal, but it does not back our currency. And our currency has been weakening ever since. And the swamps of the world love it. Because as much as they demand we police the world and we do everything they demand we do, they also despise us with a passion. They cannot wait for the day the U.S. falls. And our own government is hastening that day. Be very mindful and aware of everything going on around you. As they talk about food shortages, as they talk about the price of this, that, or the other going up before it goes down, watch for what happens when those engineered shortages hit. A lot of places sell dehydrated food. You can go to Walmart, Kroger, Academy Sports, and you can buy 72 hours for 2 people for about $20. It's not the best food. It is about a half step or a full step up from an actual MRE. The best way I had that described to me or defined was MREs are caloric intake. They're not there to be a meal you enjoy. They are there to be calories your body needs to burn. It is mere caloric intake. But if you have no food in the grocery stores, then that dehydrated food will taste wonderful, and it will be the caloric intake you need. But the Ministry of Truth will declare that having more than 24 hours worth of food is hoarding. Although they won't start there. They'll start with Anyone who has more than 2 weeks worth of food is hoarding food and is keeping you hungry. Then it will be a week, then it will be 4 days, then it will be 2 days, then it will be a day, then it will be no one may have any food stores. You will be delivered rations daily, and jackboots will show up on your door to demand you show them every square inch of your home to ensure you're not hoarding food. As people die from starvation, diabetes, or other things that require them to have certain amounts of food readily available, or medications that they can't afford, the government will blame everyone but themselves for everything that's happening. We will hear that it is the evil right-wingers who are keeping medicine unaffordable. We will hear that it is Russia or the Ukraine war or this or that. That means you can't find the medication you need. There is no food because of that. Not because they're paying farmers to not produce. Not because they're declaring food is unfit for human consumption and forcing its destruction. And before anyone wants to say anything about that, I can remember stories about that. One in particular. And it happened under Barack Obama's administration. A farm-to-table venue. Quite literally farm-to-table. They raised the cattle and the chickens. They raised all of the crops. The only thing they did not produce themselves was alcohol. They would serve the meal with wine or water. If it was breakfast, you could have milk or orange juice produced from their cows, pasteurized by them, or oranges they had grown. They had an event going, and the FDA showed up, declared their food was not fit for human or any other consumption, required them to place all of the food in the FDA's 55-gallon barrels, and then poured bleach on it to ensure it could not even be used for pig slop. Literally forced them to waste thousands of dollars of food because the FDA declared it was unfit. What they knew is that that was a business that could feed hundreds a day or more should we have a breakdown of society. They don't like that. The swamps do not like, and if they have any ability, they will not allow self-sufficiency. They need you dependent on them for your very life. And if they can't do that naturally, they do it at the end of a gun. Make no mistake, we are watching the beginnings of an Orwellian tyrant empire. And I don't know what's going to happen should they get their way, or what will happen if they are stopped from creating it. Because these are the type of people who, if a congressman is the one person who votes no when they want him to vote yes, they will declare that he is an enemy of democracy. Nancy Pelosi stood in 2017 and objected to certification of the Electoral College because Donald Trump had won. But when anyone did that in 2021, they were aiding an insurrection and trying to overthrow the government for doing exactly what she'd done 4 years prior. That is exactly what Orwellian tyrants do. Rules for thee, not for me. All animals are equal. Some are more equal than others. The world is getting extremely dark every day, folks. And we know why. We are in the end game. We are in the end of days, or very, very close to the beginning of it. Christ's return is imminent, and I am stronger in my belief every day that my generation, and possibly my parents, will see it happen. You need to do some soul searching, examination of your life, and you need a relationship with Christ. Because if you don't have one, and the end comes, it's over. And hell is not described as pits of fire and brimstone. It is eternal and complete and total separation from the Creator. Even those who are non-Christians, even those who are adamant atheists or other faiths, you can still feel a connection to the Creator. If that is removed, it's agony. It's eternal torture. Satan will be cast into the lake of fire. But everyone else is simply separated. And I don't wish that for anyone. As always, the rules for discussion on this post are the same. Remain civil and logical. Treat each other with the respect you wish to be treated with. We can have discussions, and I welcome them. If you're unsure about your faith, if you've never encountered Christianity and you are curious about it, ask your questions. I will do everything I can to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I will find someone who does. Because this is the most important decision you'll make in your life. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful week next week, or whatever it may be. As always, I do appreciate everyone who has subscribed, and I ask everyone else too, so that I can grow this and do this more often. Until next time, God bless.